What's up,
From
Big?
Calexico to Nunavut, from the Aleutian Islands to Newfoundland, Grindberg and Biggs, we have the continent covered. What is up, Mike Grindberg?
Not much, man. I'm doing awesome. How are you doing, Biggs?
I'm great. I'm coming at you from the Fantasy Burn Studios here in Northern California, where it's 60 degrees and a little bit rainy. And I got my fingers on the pulse. This is a Dynasty Pulse, everybody. Should we get it started?
Let's get it started.
Producer! I love that we have a little heart murmur in there. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Dynasty Pulse. I am Biggs. He is Grindberg. Sometimes we like to switch places on the cameras. Happy Valentine's Day yesterday, Mike Grindberg.
Hey, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that.
Do you have anything planned for this weekend?
Yeah, a couple little things here and there.
All right. Hey, you know what? From this Raiders fan to you, my friend, congratulations on the Super Bowl. It must be nice. Back to back. Chicken Shack.
At least this time it wasn't aided by penalties and controversy. Hey, yeah.
It wasn't aided by yellow flags. It was aided by it was an incredible game. One of the best Super Bowls I've seen in a long, long time. You want it to be competitive. Nobody hates free football when you go to overtime. And I do want to say the 49ers had the Chiefs number. However, a fumble and a muffed punt, you can't really recover from that in a game like that, especially with one Patty Mahomes on the other side of the ball. Like you can't give him time. You can't, none of that stuff. So I just hate that in one of my leagues, I had the first pick and it was an all quarterback league, and you can't not draft Mahomes with the 101 in an all quarterback league. So I had to do it. And it just so happened to be a down year for him until the Raiders beat them and they went, oh, hey guys, maybe we should pick up our game a little bit. Last team to beat the Chiefs, the Las Vegas Raiders. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, man, I think that really helped solidify AP's job. And I think I'm happy for the Raider Nation because of that. I think that was a great win for them.
A strong rivalry is a better rivalry.
Yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about the Raiders. I love them. I think they're a great young team, and I love the coaching staff. I love what they've done. They can get a quarterback coming up here. Watch out! Like they've got a guy leading the ship that is a man of the people. So I think he's going to have some people rally around him, and they're going to exceed expectations early. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I've got big news. Everybody, go ahead and subscribe, like the video, comment. We will take any and all comments. We will respond. We will craft our upcoming episodes around the feedback that we're getting from the fans. Find us on Twitter. He's at FFCanuck99. I'm at BigBoned FFB. And speaking of Raiders, I have my debut of my Undroppables Uncovered Raiders Unrivaled Roundtable coming up. I got to record that in a little bit. A little sneak preview for you all. I have Raider Damas from Raider Rumble. He writes a prediction before every Raiders game because the Great Beyond tells him who's going to win. Marcus Johnson from Tape Don't Lie. Go find Tape Don't Lie on YouTube and follow that. It's fantastic breakdown of tape and stuff. And Kenny King Jr., Raiders Insider. So it's going to be the four of us weekly and doing a little roundtable thing on Raiders football, which is part of the Uncovered over at the Undroppables, which is spearheaded by a really, really good man. I think his name starts with an M and ends in Ike Greinberg, and it's specific team-related content from each content creator. So I have the Raiders, Mike has the Chiefs, a couple guys have the Steelers. So it's individual. It's what do you call it? Spoke content, if you will. And so go over to the Undroppables channel on YouTube. And I guess that's all the advertising that we have for today, except for our sponsors, not sponsors, at Bubbly, who make a delicious lemon sorbet seltzer. Greinberg, be our Ricky Henderson, and lead off our risers and fallers, which is the topic of the week.
So we're talking about risers and fallers, but specifically after the Senior Bowl.
From the Senior Bowl, sorry.
Yeah, from the Senior Bowl, because there was a lot of guys that are in those couple days there that needed to be noteworthy. There were some aspirations of some that exceeded and some that didn't live up, and we might have different opinions about certain guys, and I'm excited to get into it. Me, I wasn't at the Senior Bowl, so this is from what I have from the professionals that are out there that I follow, but also just watching some tape and stuff like that. I'm going to have probably some more names that are more familiar than maybe Biggs might have. Biggs will probably be able to get into some more deeper names that might help those third, fourth round positions, if you will.
I wasn't in Mobile either.
Yeah, I know, but you're a Devy guy. I'm not. So we'll see what happens. All right. So my first riser is a running back, and he's from USC. So it's Marshawn Lloyd, and he showed his full potential as a runner and a pass catcher and a blocker.
I had him in Devy.
He's a great pass blocker. He's good at protecting Caleb Williams last season, and he will be on the field on passing downs. He creates his own space and does a really good job of keeping defenders off balance. From what I saw from the clips of him at the Senior Bowl, Lloyd was able to showcase all three phases of his arsenal. He looked great as a receiver and even better as a pass protector. Lloyd has the potential to be a starter because of this and has checked off all the boxes for me, especially in a class that is so up in the air. I am more willing to take a chance on a running back that can also be a big factor in the passing game, and Lloyd has proven that to me. Lloyd is a monster on the ground and can be a true 3-down back. He has the potential to do that in this league, so he has risen up my board and is now aggressively as my running back 3 of this class. So we'll see.
Wow, that's a rise.
Yeah, that's pretty fluid right now, though, because we don't know where they're landing. And we talk about running backs all the time in this class that it's going to make a big difference on where they fall. And Lloyd right now is got a lot of potential for me, but it'll really depend on that. That will squash. A lot of people had Condre Miller last year and Zach Charbonnet as these guys before the draft, and then when they fell, their stock plummeted a little bit. But then guys like who had a good Devon A. Chan, who had a good landing spot, his stock rose after the draft. So some of these guys are going to rise and fall, but right now, from what I see, and after the Senior Bowl, he's going to test well at the combine too, I'm pretty sure. If he can get a good draft capital, I'm all in for him.
Yeah, I was very pleased with him in Devy. He did not disappoint. All right, let me put on. I got to get ready with my sketch character. All right, my running back is Dylan Laube. I'm going with Laube. It's Laube or Laube. I'm going to say Laube. Dylan Laube from the University of New Hampshire. He's a prospect that wowed with his one-on-one skills. He lined up all over the field and excelled. He's a 5'9", 210. He's built like Eckler, CMC. I've seen the Danny Woodhead floor. Now, FCS seniors makes me think practice squad, backup ceiling. You're not finding a whole lot of guys out of the FCS. They're straight to the practice squad. They're backups at best. But watching film of Laube compete against Power 5 guys and win in the Senior Bowl, he's going against guys that have been playing. They were recruits out of high school. They played 4 or 5, sometimes even 6 years in college, so they're polished. And he's going up against them one-on-ones throughout practice and beating them throughout the Senior Bowl week. He's a one-on-one stud, and 5'9", 210, he's built like a little juggernaut. So he's going to go to an OC that knows how to use him and knows that he has a secret weapon in him. Kind of what they did with Austin Eckler, kind of like what they did with CMC, how Danny Woodhead managed to get paid for quite a few years. He also, and this is this is not fantasy related at the moment, but it does give me hope for UC Davis running back Lan Larison, who's also out of the FCS. He's built a little bit bigger. He's about 6'1", but he goes about 210, 215. You guys, I'm telling you right now, go to Google, set up an alert. First search Lan Larison, and then set yourself up an alert for Lan Larison. He's not going to be in any of the Fantrax leagues because he's an FCS guy, so you're not going to find him in Debbie. But this guy is an absolute go to ESPN.com, look up Lan Larison and his stats from last year. He had 3 games in a row with 200 plus yards. He had 6 touchdowns in 3 games, and that was coming off an injury. So Lan Larison, Dylan Lobby. Dylan Lobby's my big riser. Anytime an FCS guy can go and compete against all these Power 5 guys and make coaches go, yeah, that guy checks the boxes, that he's a riser.
Yeah, no qualm here from me. I didn't know much about him up until this point. Yeah, from what I gather, yeah, he's definitely risen there. So for me, my next riser is Ladd McConkey, 5'11", 185 from Georgia.
I had him in Debbie.
From what I heard, he was reminding people what Tank Dell did last year at the Combine. Thor Nystrom was on the undrafted pod the other day saying he was breaking people's ankles off the line. That's a quote. Thor went on to say that he changed the way that the defensive backs played on the one-on-ones. Many people are already flag planting McConkey as this year's Puka Nacua. He comes in with the same type of swag, and people are drafting him as though. I've seen McConkey go in the first round in some rookie drafts, and some people think he could garner first round draft capital. I am not quite there yet on him, but I do know he is fast. He is a burner off the line. McConkey is dangerous after the catch, and he's good in the intermediate routes. I could see him as being a very good separator. He does it incredibly well. He won't win much downfield or contested catches, but he will be a very good slot receiver, I'm thinking, in this league. So I have him ranked right now as my wide receiver 8 in this class, a little bit higher than most people have him, just based off of what he did at the Combine, what he was like, from what I heard that Thor was saying about him, and that guy's a really good mind. I believe him, and I was looking at some footage as well, and I saw what he was seeing, so we'll see what happens with Ladd McConkey.
Yeah, Puka Nacua, Dontavian Wicks, Tank Dell. This year, Ladd McConkey, he was the one that was on everybody's lips. And he's coming from Georgia. One of the boxes that gets checked sometimes that is a little bit undersold. We want size, we want speed, we want early breakout, we want underclass, like all that stuff. But one of the things that doesn't get talked about a lot is who their teammates were. And Ladd coming from Georgia, that means that 3 years ago, he was on the same team as George Pickens. The last 2 years, he was a pass catcher with Brock Bowers, among others. So Georgia's a farm and for the NFL. And if he's wowing people, you know, he's definitely a riser. I like him. And I had him in Debbie. So
good on ya. Okay, who's your next guy, bud?
My next guy is Brendan Rice. He has the best first name in all of football. I had him in Debbie. I've been following Rice for a while because his dad happens to be the greatest football player that ever lived, Oakland Raiders legend Jerry Rice. Brendan is 6'3", 210. He's slightly bigger than his dad was. And guess what? He's faster. I think Rice was a 4.7 40, something like that. It was a different time. It was a different era. He only had 45 catches for about 800 yards last season for USC. Hey, Marshawn Lloyd. Teammates, right? Yeah. Kayla Williams, Brendan Rice, Marshawn Lloyd. But he did score 12 touchdowns. That's every 4 catches he's catching a touchdown, or a little bit better than that. At the Senior Bowl, he made a bunch of highlight catches. But his ability hasn't been in question. Everybody knows who he is at this point. I am sad that he didn't come out as a junior. I think he could have come out last year and done pretty well for himself, but he's coming out as a senior. So he went to the Senior Bowl. How he won in mobile, how he's a riser, was with his attitude, the way that he carried himself. He was blowing people away in interviews. There's a good one with Ray GQ where Ray GQ is asking him like who he models himself after in the pro game, and his answers were like you look at the guy, you watch him answer questions, and you're like, that guy is confident and he's self-assured and he acts like it. He's in his own eyes, he's already a pro, but he's not a diva. He's a worker. Like, he comes from Jerry Rice's stock. Like, nobody worked harder than Jerry Rice. So Brendan Rice shooting up my boards, and I'm going to be taking him early, and I'm going to be very pleased with it in these rookie drafts.
Okay. That's a good take. I've been hearing some opposite takes on him, so I'm excited to hear that you're buying in. I didn't know that he was faster than his dad was, so that's pretty cool to know. And
it's hard not to be faster than 4.7.
Yeah. And I didn't realize he was that slow either. Might have been those 30-pound pads he was wearing at the time.
It was a different day, different time.
All right, so my next riser then is got a very similar profile than my last guy, a speedster off the line. This guy was from Michigan, 5'10", 187, so very similar size than Ladd McConkey. This is Roman Wilson I'm talking about, known for his speed and his great hands. Played the slot in college, but could play a little outside from what I hear. Very similar profile to Ladd McConkey. However, Wilson is a lot thicker. Being stuck in a Jim Harbaugh run-heavy offense limited his route tree and his upside as a big-time producer in college. Wilson, who played mostly the slot for the Wolverines, has shown the ability to play outside as well, like I mentioned earlier. Wilson is a great separator, and with his thick frame is decent after the catch as well. Wilson can stretch the field and is often looked upon in the red zone as he can win those tight battles because of his physical ability and play. His downside, people may tell you, is that he has limited experience because of how little the Wolverines passed. Wilson showed enough at the Senior Bowl that he was able to opt out of day 3 with a minor injury that some may needed to play through if they needed to prove themselves more. So I like Roman Wilson. He's right around my wide receiver 10 now in this, moving up a couple spots since the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, there's a couple things. He's a national champion, and coming from that Harbaugh offense, you know that he's going to know how to block. So as soon as he gets into the league, he might have a draft stock that doesn't really scream like, hey, draft me, like 3rd rounder, 4th rounder kind of thing. However, coaches are going to love him, and as a rookie, that's a key to getting on the field. Also, he's a hard-nosed kid, and I don't think he'll have a problem playing special teams. So if he's out there and he's tackling guys in the preseason and showing that he's putting in the effort, doing the drills, tackling people on special teams, and blocking in the schemes when he's on the field as a rookie, he's going to get him some playing time and some looks real quick, quicker than some a more touted per wide receiver with similar draft capital. So I like Roman Wilson a lot. Didn't have him in Debbie. All right, my last riser. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all. To me, though, Spencer Rattler is the single most interesting prospect in this whole draft class. I don't mean interesting in a positive or negative way. Ooh, that's interesting, like in a positive way. And I don't mean it in a negative way. Dynasty starts in high school, and Spencer Rattler was featured on the QB1 show on Netflix, that series, when he was a high school senior. So far from that series, though, only Jake Fromm from Georgia has had any measure of NFL success, and it's not looking good for Spencer if that's the blueprint. Mm-hmm. On top of that, Rattler is old. He's small. He's only 6'1", about 210 pounds. He's smaller than Brendan Rice is, and he doesn't run. Like, he doesn't have run production in college. He's going to turn 24 in September, so he's an older fella. And he's bounced around. He started at Oklahoma. He lost his job to an underclassman. Granted, that underclassman was Caleb Williams, the consensus 101 this season, but he still lost his job. And in his 5 years in college, he had a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Roughly 2-1 touchdown interception. That's not wowing anybody. He's gonna need this pre-draft process to change minds because his college career was mediocre at best. So what does he do? He starts the pre-draft season, going to the Senior Bowl, and wins the game MVP. So that has to count for something. It counts for showing up on my risers list. Overall, he shouldn't be on any list besides do not draft or Senior Bowl risers. He's an old, small, mediocre project quarterback hoping to show enough coachability to continue to ride his high school senior upside into a backup journeyman role. But well done in mobile, Spence. Well done in mobile. Mobile. Well done in Mobile.
Mobile.
Home of Willie Mays, San Francisco Giant legend.
So does he crack your top 10 in the?
Oh no, he cracks my top 10 do not draft list. He's my number one do not draft. Okay. In a podcast I did that was a little bit of Raiders chatter, Spencer Rattler's name came up and I almost screamed no. The Raiders are looking for a quarterback and he's the last one that I want. However, he qualified as a riser. You got to give a shout out to the game MVP, even if he's not good.
Fair. Okay. Some fallers, if you will. You want to start us off?
I can.
Sure, go for it. I'll put you on the
Let me.
Where do you want me to go?
I can do it. My first one, another guy who's been linked to the Raiders in their quarterback search. Somebody who I'm waffling on. If from our last episode when we did our mock draft, I took him with my last pick. Doesn't mean that I want him to go to the Raiders. That's Bo Nix. Scuttlebutt from the Senior Bowl. He did not throw well at all. Now, he still has some fantasy upside with his legs, possible draft capital because he is the consensus quarterback 4, quarterback 5, but he didn't help himself at all at the Senior Bowl. One of the things that I mentioned in our mock draft episode was that he is the last quarterback on the list of guys that I think could come in and be given a starting job. So he's got to be taken by a bad team that really needs a quarterback. That sounds like the Raiders and get a job. It's got to be a team that's higher on him. He's got to show out at the combine. So all hope is not lost for Nix, even though he is a faller on this list. But yeah, he's my first faller.
Yeah, he fell on my rankings. Like I had him at QB4 before the Senior Bowl. Now I put McCarthy before him. Now McCarthy moves past him. I think just with the way, like you had mentioned, he's going to need to go somewhere as well. And I think there's more buzz coming out of the McCarthy camp all of a sudden.
Yep, if the Raiders take JJ McCarthy at 13, I'm happy. And I liked him coming out anyway, but yeah, he's absolutely my QB 3 or 4. It's 3 or 4. Okay. Yeah, 3. Quarterback 3.
So you have him ahead of May or?
No. Williams, May. Oh, quarterback 4. Williams, May, Daniels.
That's McCarthy. What I have. Yeah. Me too. Yeah, that's how I have it as well. All right, then we're going to stay on the quarterback train then, and I'll give you I got a quarterback that fell as well, and he's been falling since the national championship game. In a game that was supposed to showcase his talents, Michael Penix from that Washington Huskies. It actually did the opposite. It showcased his inefficiencies as a passer. It was clear to me that after the national championship game, Michael Penix was more of a byproduct of the elite weapons around him than his talent at quarterback. Penix threw 2 picks en route to being very disappointing in a game that he easily could have skyrocketed his draft stock rather than doing the opposite. On came the Senior Bowl and more of the same arose, overthrowing receivers, unable to make his reads quick enough, and really struggled under pressure. Penix was a surefire top 5 quarterback in the class and now is destined to be an automatic first-round pick until the national championship game and most recently the Senior Bowl. If Penix falls outside the first round, there is no telling how far he'll slide. Penix is my QB 7 in this class behind Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, JJ My
Right, that's a riser.
Mm-hmm.
Up your draft boards. All right. Interesting to see where this guy, you said Penix was your quarterback 7?
Mm-hmm.
All right. This guy's going to be below that. I have Tennessee's Joe Milton.
Mm-hmm.
You guys remember Colin Kaepernick? To borrow from Boulderham, $1 million arm strength, 10-cent accuracy. Throws the ball all over the yard and all over the yard. He's got an absolute cannon, but does not know where it's going. Maybe the Chargers take a late round chance on his upside, get him in the building and see what you can do because you already got Herbert in there.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Milton did not help himself at the Senior Bowl. He could not complete a pass beyond 5 or 6 yards down the field, but he can throw the ball 95 miles an hour. So he's got that going for him. So yeah, Joe Milton is my next faller. Where does he slot in on your QB rankings?
Me, he is, some of these guys,
not top 10, apparently.
He's not top 10. No, he's 11, maybe 12. I got, Rattler ahead of him, Reed, Jordan Travis, and then you're right around there.
Reed, Western Kentucky. Let's go.
Yeah.
I had him in Debbie.
Yeah. And then it's kind of like, just really pick your poison at that stage. So yeah,
I don't like poison.
Exactly. So I don't like him either. Milton.
Yeah, Joe Milton.
All right. So I'm going to go with the wide receiver here in Xavier Legette from South Carolina. 6 feet. Okay. So 6 feet.
Not 6'3".
No, not 6'3", not 6'2". He's 6 feet, so came in quite a bit shorter than expected.
6 foot 4/10 of an inch.
Yeah, came in a lot shorter than expected. He wins a lot of catch point and is pretty fast. He's got a good mix of speed, and I could see why he looks appealing to a lot of guys. But the speed and explosiveness is there, especially after the catch. He has the frame in the game to play multiple spots. He can work as a power slot or the Z receiver, but he's got plenty of room to grow.
That's the Z for all of our American friends.
Sorry. That's funny. For me, however, Legette is the type of receiver I tend to shy away from. He struggles to separate. He's only 52% versus single coverage and does not have a great deal of long speed. He has relied upon a lot on the contested catches with a 52.6% catch rate. Legette's yards per route run is sub 2, and only 4 wide receivers since 2018 have finished as a top 24 wide receiver with a college yards per route run sub 2. So Legette is plummeted down my board to the wide receiver 12 in this rookie class.
It's sad when they start falling at the measurements.
Yeah.
The first news out of Senior Bowl was Xavier Legette's not as tall as we thought he was. Boo!
Yeah. That's
tragic.
Quite a bit. That's quite a bit of discrepancy, though. People had him pegged at 6'3". It's pretty. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, we got a lot of guys from the Kakalakis. That's American for Carolina. So why don't you go with your last faller?
Okay. Yes, I got a Tar Heel here, and it's Tez Walker, 6'1", 197. I think you like Tez, but
I do.
He is fast. He has got good size. Walker can effectively stretch the field. He works on the outside primarily. He can win on all 3 levels, but his speed is effective, and after catch is a problem in his game. He needs to get a little bit more refinement. Similar profile to me as to Legette. They win in similar fashions. However, they both still struggle with separation. Walker isn't the cleanest route runner, and he will definitely take some time to develop his game in that regard. So he's also struggled with drops, and the Senior Bowl was an example of that. So throughout his career as well in college, he's had some issues with that. So he will bring a lot of boomer bust weeks. Fantasy managers, I think he's similar to the George Pickens profile, and I shy away from that type of contested catch kind of guy. He's my wide receiver 15 in this class, so quite a bit colder on him than most people are on Tez Walker.
Now I said I like him, but there's 2 things. Number 1, he's not even close to George Pickens.
Good.
And number 2, maybe I don't like him as much as I thought. Maybe I like Drake May a lot more than I thought I did. the games that I saw Walker play in, nothing stood out to me. The report that you just gave is pretty damning, and I know that that's a lot of the analysis that's out there. But watching him in the games, I didn't get any of those. Nothing flagged for me as like a negative. He looked like a good wide receiver, and hey, maybe that was all Drake May's doing. So
I don't know, and it's good to see because there's some people that really are on Tez as a really big candidate here, and he could be. Some teams might be looking for that exact type of player. So we'll see what happens. I just that's just a scary profile to me when I don't know his landing spot yet either. So,
well, wide receiver 3 upside in the NFL, and wide receiver 3 on his team, not wide receiver 3 in our fantasy rankings. Not top 36 fantasy, but wide receiver 3 on his team.
Awesome. Okay, what's your finale?
All right, my last faller is Spencer Rattler because he reminded me of who he is. So yeah, oh,
I love it. That's good. You explained it to a T because I was like, you were just bashing him in your risers, and now he's a follower. That's awesome.
Yeah, anybody that watches Weekend Warm Up knows I like to cheat, so I just cheated, and I don't like him. I don't like him at all, but he did rise, so that's what we're doing here. We're doing risers, so he's my riser and my faller. He didn't change. He rose as the MVP, but that didn't increase his draft stock in my eyes. And then he fell from that spot to exactly where he was before.
That's awesome.
So he rose and fell.
We got a special episode coming up next week, don't we, Biggs?
We do. We got a special guest.
We convinced him to come on, and maybe we can convince him to make a couple cameos on the Pulse.
Yeah, everybody go. That's what I was thinking. I was like, why aren't we? Because we're in cahoots. So everybody go back, go to YouTube, The Fantasy Burn. Go to my channel and look up my interview with Johnny Tuma. And Johnny Tuma is going to be our guest next week. Johnny Tuma is Mike and my compadre, our partner in crime. He's part of this little outlaw gang we like to call the Player Profiler News Desk, and he does content with us. We're all like the assistant editor team at Player Profiler News Desk, and we're going to have him on the pod next week, and it's going to be fun because he's a super nice guy, and yeah, it'll be great to have Johnny Tuma in the show.
And we might have to brand him with a pulse or something. We'll have to give him some sort of honorarium for being with us. And it's coming up on getting close to somebody's birthday too. So we're going to talk about a celebration on that. And it's not just a normal birthday either. This is a big one for Biggs. So
stop it.
I'm excited to celebrate with you, my friend.
It's only the first day of the rest of my life.
Yeah, exactly.
The second half of my life or something. Yeah, but that's a few weeks away. We're not even talking about that yet.
Biggs has got a big show.
Except in our last podcast, I was talking about it.
Yeah,
I got a big show. I'm recording in 12 minutes, and
I'll let you get to that, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Remember where to find us. It's a Dynasty Pulse on the Fantasy Football Plus Network. And shout out to Bradley for making this happen. Shout out to you, Biggs. Have a good weekend. Shout out to everybody.
At BigBonedFFP, at BigBonedFFP on Twitter, at BigBoned. That's where you can find me.
And you can find me at FFCanuck99 on Twitter as well.
Subscribe, comment, share, hit the bell.
From all of us on the network, this is the Dynasty Pulse. Have a great weekend, folks.
Little BC Bud from